Hi everybody, thanks for coming by. I'm really happy to see you. As you know, today's Father's Day, and I always post 2 videos on I did it for Mother's Day and I'm going to do it for Father's Day. One is in celebration of Father's Day, and the other is for people that find Father's Day a hard day. If you're new here, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you've been here before, thanks so much for coming by again. I really am grateful, so grateful to you. I am one of the lucky ones. I had a good dad. I had a great relationship with him. As an adult, there were issues when I was younger. One in particular I remember, but I try not to hold it against people because my dad had a really dry sense of humor. And a joke was like the best thing. But sometimes you can carry a joke too far. And I remember it was the 80s, so that we had the big belts that you wore on your waist and your hip. And I came out and I said, "How do I look?" And he said, "You look like a sack of potatoes tied in the middle." Don't think I wore belts for 40 years. Because that's something you got to remember, is one comment can really hurt. And you may not mean it, but I still think about it. I'm 56 and I still think about that. But I started wearing belts again, so it's okay. But Father's Day is all around us. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, if you have a hard time with Father's Day, it's not as in the news or the pressure to do celebratory things as Mother's Day. I find that's a little bit more. But if it's a hard day, if you want to be a dad and you can't, or you've lost, this is a hard day. And I don't have words to bring you comfort, except to tell you that you're not alone, and that I wish I did have the words for you. I really do. Also, it can be a hard day if you don't have your dad, or you never knew your dad, or you have no relationship with your dad. And for different reasons. There's also, people who've just had horrible relationships with their fathers. Those aren't easy to deal with either on a day like today. And the one thing I want to urge people, if the issue is that you had a bad father, end of story, if I can do one thing for you, if you hear one thing from me, it's this: it is not your fault. You deserved a great dad. And the fact that you didn't get one, I'm sorry, but you deserved it. You deserve to have a good dad. You didn't deserve to have a bad father or someone who was cruel to you or mean to you. And those that don't have a dad, I'm sorry that you were robbed of that experience. I hope and pray that you had bonus dads, father figures in your life that you could turn to and to teach you things. I think that's the hardest part for me, is knowing that there's people out there that didn't get taught the things they needed to be taught, or have the emotional experiences that they could have had. It's okay to grieve that. It's a loss. And if nobody's ever told you that it's okay to be sad on Father's Day, or it's okay to mourn something you never knew, it's perfectly okay. You are entitled to your feelings. You are entitled to be angry or to be sad. If anger is your main emotion, I urge you to try to let go, to try to forgive. Not for them, for you. It's a weight you don't need to carry. I talked about this before. I read a book by Richard Paul Evans called The Locket, and it was a book about forgiveness. And there was one line in that book, and I've never forgotten it. And it was, you don't cut the rope to save the anchor. And I believe that. Forgiveness is more about you than them. And sorry if you're hearing squishing sounds. I find this topic a little stressful. So I have my unicorn stress ball that I'm trying to get names for. Like I said, it's hard for me to talk about because I had a good dad. There were moments, but for the most part, he's a good dad. My mom never knew her father, ever. And that was hard. She once said to me, and she was, in her 70s at the time. She goes, it's hard to just not know. She goes, if I say dad, you immediately get a picture in your head. I don't get that picture. And the only father figure that she had was a grandfather and some uncles who abused her in every way possible. So it took her a long time to learn to trust men. But at the same time, my father was not a demonstrative man. When she met him, he had a hard time, especially with little kids. Like, what am I supposed to do with them? They can't really talk. They can't do anything. And she said, get down on the floor, play with her, play with them, talk to them, feed them. And, like I said, my dad grew. By my teenagers, by my teenagers, we fought a lot because I was a teenager and thought I knew everything. But from my 20s on, my dad and I were good friends. We really were. Although he could never remember the punchline of a joke, so I was constantly getting phone calls at work. What's that joke you told me? So I'd have to tell it to him on the phone. But yeah, I pray that you've had good father figure relationships. And if you've always wanted to be a dad, I pray that you're able to be a father figure to someone. I am lucky. I've got a bonus dad and a bonus mom, and my daughter has grandparents. Because my husband's parents are deceased, my parents are deceased. But I've got an aunt and uncle who is, I don't care, they are my daughter's grandparents, and they're my bonus parents. The other thing you get to do, guys, you don't have to talk about this day with anyone. If it helps you to talk, please do. But if people are like, oh, come out, we were having a barbecue for Father's Day, and it makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to go. You get to say no, and you don't have to give a reason. Thanks for the invite, but no. Appreciate the thought, but no. Glad you're thinking of me, but no. You don't have to give reasons, okay? Even etiquette says that. When you're RSVPing to weddings or to functions, you can just RSVP no. You are not obligated to list a reason why. And people don't get that. The main thing is, I wish this day wasn't hard for you. I really do. And if it helps to write a letter to the dad who's gone, or the dad who was cruel, or to the dad who never stuck around. Put your feelings out. They're your feelings. You're allowed to have them. Then I suggest ripping up the letter. It helps. It's like a cathartic experience to get those feelings out and to help you come to terms with things. But it's okay to feel a sense of loss on today. And it's also okay to feel fine. If you never had the dad and you're like, and I'm okay with that. My mom was a great mom, or my uncle took over that role, or, my older brother took care of us. That's fine. Tell them. I urge you to do that. But my biggest thing that I wanted to say to you guys is, don't make things harder on yourself. You don't have to be something for someone else. If you're a dad and Father's Day is hard for you because of the dad you did or didn't have, it's okay to say to your kids, I'm so happy to be your dad, but my dad makes me sad a little today. You know, and that's okay, because then kids understand that they can have complex feelings and it's okay to talk about it. So you don't have to be the big brave guy or the person who nothing bothers me, I'm strong. And having feelings doesn't make anybody weak. It makes us human. And I want you to know that you deserved to have a good dad. You really did. And if you wish you had been a dad and you couldn't because of loss or infertility, you deserved to have an experience as a loving father. You really did. I don't know the ways and the whys of things, but I do know that you're a good person and that you're a decent person and that you have so much to offer and to give. And I hope that this day isn't too hard on any of you. And I hope that you find some peace and comfort in it. And above all, please know I love you, I value you, I honor you, and I'm so very glad that you were born.